Gretchen, you and I both love using an Airbnb when we go away, but you can also be an Airbnb host. You know, in LA, a lot of people go away for work for weeks, maybe even months. And a great thing to do is to be an Airbnb host,
Yes.
while you're gone. I mean, this can be good for somebody who's often traveling, somebody who has extra space. They could do it while they're there. Somebody who has a seasonal house, Gretchen.
Right. Or somebody who always goes away for the same time of year, for family traditions, or like there's work events. Like you say, people are going away all the time. And if they have a home, they can Airbnb it. We all have things that we need a little bit of extra money for. With Airbnb, you can make some of that side money. And, you can give a great experience to other people. Your home might be worth more than you think. Find out how much at airbnb.com/host.
Wayfair is the place to shop for all things home this holiday season, from sofas to spatulas and everything you need for holiday hosting, like festive cookware, cozy bedding, and holiday decor galore. Gretchen, I think we are hosting Christmas this year, and I recently got 2 extra side tables for the outside, and they will be well used this Christmas.
And the thing about using Wayfair is that it is so convenient. Wayfair has everything that our homes need for the holidays. So if you're getting ready to host, Wayfair has so many selections. There's something for every style and every home, no matter what your space or budget. It's a one-stop holiday shop for everything we need. And free and easy shipping, even on the big stuff. They'll even help you set it up. Wayfair is your one-stop holiday shop for everything on your to-do list this season. Head to wayfair.com right now to get your home holiday ready. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Hello and welcome to Happier, a podcast where we talk about ways to make our lives happier, healthier, more productive, and more creative. This week, we'll talk about an unexpected approach for sparking creativity, both creative output and creative ideas. And we will share a fun hack from a listener about how to gamify clutter clearing. I'm Gretchen Rubin, a writer who studies happiness, good habits, the open door, aka the empty nest, secrets of adulthood, human nature. I'm in my little home office in New York City, and joining me today from Los Angeles is my sister Elizabeth Kraft. And Elizabeth, I cannot wait for our upcoming Happier Podcast Book Club episode.
That's me, Elizabeth Kraft, a TV writer and producer living in LA. And yes, Elizabeth Strout's Tell Me Everything is our book club book. So excited about it. So send your comments and your questions for Elizabeth Strout. We're going to be talking to her in an upcoming episode.
We're both such huge fans of her work. This book is just already causing a huge splash, so it's going to be a really great conversation.
Yes.
But before we jump in, a few notes. In episode 500, as part of our big celebration, we asked for ideas from listeners about, are there ideas for what you call our listeners, what you call our community? And we got some fun ideas. A lot of people suggested ideas that were bluebird related, because a bluebird is the symbol for happiness. So those were really fun.
Yes, Steven said guinea pigs. Of course, you call me your happiness guinea pig.
Yes, well, yes, the world is our guinea pig. Lucy suggested happiness bullies, because you call me a happiness bully.
Catherine said unwardians, which is fun.
That is really fun. And then Debbie and Rosemary, who say, we are longtime listeners and non-familiar sisters, aka besties, who love, love, love the pod, suggested hapsters as a combination of happier podsters. And Joyce and also Michelle and Brian also suggested hapsters. But one question is, if it is hapsters, is it 1 P or 2 Ps? Because hipster is 1 P, but then happier has 2. I don't know, Elizabeth. Maybe we should just see what sticks.
Yes, I'm loving hapsters and onwardians. Those are the two that resonate most with me.
Let's see what people use. It was fun to read all of the very creative suggestions.
Yes, thank you, everybody.
And then we got this comment from Patty.
Yes, she said, I very much enjoyed your conversation on turning acquaintances into friends, but I strongly disagree with your statement, Gretchen, that IRL friends are better than URL friends. One of my closest friends is someone I've never lived near. I live in a suburb of Chicago, and my friend Finn lives in Boston. We were matched 3 years ago through an intergenerational grief support program for those who have lost both parents early in life. I am 64 years old and Finn is 31. We have become very close through this common bond. There are many ways we build and maintain the relationship. We text daily, talk on the phone regularly, discuss books in our 2-person long-distance book club, including having read Life in 5 Senses.
Oh, nice.
Schedule TV watch parties, and more. I went to visit them in Boston last year, and they came to see me this summer. I can honestly say Finn and I are closer friends than I feel I am with the friends I have known in my own area, some for over 50 years. If you have a true desire to be there for a friend, the distance doesn't matter. True emotional connection knows no boundaries.
Well, I think this is a great reminder. This is a wonderful example of how a long-distance friendship can thrive and be hugely important. So many great ideas here about how to maintain that sense of closeness and connection, even though you're far apart. So Thank you, Patty. That's really, really helpful and a great reminder. You're right. For true friends, IRL and URL, they both are great.
Yes. And it's an example of how technology can improve social connection as opposed to hurt it.
Exactly. It can permit something that wouldn't even be possible, perhaps.
Yes.
And then we got this interesting comment from Esther in England.
She said, I love your recent episode on the happiness boost you get from voting and how your parents modeled its importance for you. I appreciated that you gave instructions on how listeners in the U.S. can register to vote. It inspired me to let fellow listeners know that the 6.5 million Americans living abroad can vote too. For those of us outside the U.S., we can register at www.votefromabroad.org. It's a quick and easy process because many states require absentee ballots to be mailed in and international mail can take a while. Now's the time to request your ballot.
This is a great reminder. I have a friend who lives in London, and she's an American citizen, and she's extremely involved in efforts to remind American citizens abroad to get registered, to do what they need to do to vote in time. So this is a great reminder from Esther, because I know from my friend that this is something that's really, really important to do. So great reminder for all of us, wherever we live, us U.S. citizens, let us cast our votes. And this week, our try this at home tip is to spark creativity, set a demand. So by setting demand, generate creativity.
So explain how we do this, Gretchen.
Okay. So this is something that I have really seen in my own life. And then, Elizabeth, I think I've seen it in your life too, just observing you. What I have found is I try to be very creative, and I have a lot of demands on my creativity. I have many mouths to feed. I have many things that I have to regularly create something for. So I write books, but years go by, then I haven't written a book. Nobody's waiting, saying like, Gretchen, where's your book? Where's your book? It's 2 years off. But there are people who are like, hey, Gretchen, Chuck will say, hey, Gretchen, we need to record a little happier. And then I'm like, well, I need to write those little happiers. I will come back to you when those are written. For years on my blog, I wrote every day on my blog. With this podcast, we've done it 500 episodes without a break. And I think what someone might not realize that I have really found to be true is that by creating a demand that has to be met, we actually foster creativity. I know that because I have to write littles, I actually have ideas for littles. And I have thoughts I wouldn't think. And because of this podcast, we have ideas that would not occur to us. We express things that we might not otherwise, or we might have ideas, but we would have no way to put them out into the world. And having an idea and having a way to put it out in the world is so satisfying. But by having the demand, it keeps those wheels turning, both for having ideas and then also for like getting the ideas out into the world, because you have to get them out into the world.
Yes. No, I love this, Gretchen. I know it's true for me. I mean, when you say the podcast, I just see the world through a different lens now. And it's definitely, I'm always generating ideas and
Yes.
thoughts.
Yes.
And it keeps you on your toes.
Well, and it just keeps your mind working in that deliberate way, not just passing daydreaming thoughts, but like, oh, what is this? Is this an idea?
Yeah. And this is very much something Sarah, my writing partner and co-host of Happier in Hollywood, I mean, this is how we've set up our life, right? Is to constantly be having a demand for creative things. One place it's really been true is in writing our novel. We set a demand on ourselves. We're going to write a novel. Well, then that caused us to have a million creative ideas.
Yes.
And we're still working on the novel. It keeps getting put aside for TV work, but we have it and we are working on it. And it's been a kind of way of thinking that our brain wasn't used to. And so it just gets your brain going in a different way.
Right. And another thing, and you've talked about this in the TV context, Elizabeth, and maybe you would agree in the novel writing context, and I certainly have found this to be true for me. It's kind of related in my 10 personal commandments. One of my commandments is to spend out because I can hold things back. Like I'll save my white t-shirts because I want to keep them nice, or I don't use my best stationery or a scented candle because I want to save it. Well, I realized quite a while ago that I have the same problem with ideas, that I would be like, oh, I need to hold that back. Oh, this podcast episode has too many excellent ideas. I need to hold back an A+ idea because I don't want to run out and I need to pace myself. But I realized, no, for creativity, leave it all on the field every time. Put every best idea out all the time.
That is definitely a philosophy we try to use in television. Just assume that if you use all your good ideas in this episode, when you sit down to talk about the next episode, there will be another one.
Right. So don't be like, oh, we can't use it in episode 2. We have to save it for episode 5. You're like, put it in 2 and then trust that 5. Yeah. Well, and then I'm thinking of other examples of people creating a demand for this. So my daughter, Eliza, when she was in high school, she had a podcast called Eliza Starting at 16. And she did that for a long time. Now she has a Substack newsletter called Lucky Duck. And she's created something where she has to do something with it, or else just say, I'm going to abandon it.
Right.
And once it's created, you want to tend to it more. And then you sort of have ideas or like, oh, this is something that I will put. These were 2 things that she just decided to do. They were just responsibilities she imposed on herself. You and I were talking about it kind of in the context of work, but there's no work involved for her. This is just something that she's just doing purely for the pleasure of creativity and getting her ideas out in the world. But I know that she's had ideas and worked through big thoughts because she's done it through the podcast or now through the newsletter.
Yeah, and this can apply to all sorts of types of creativity.
Yes.
Entertaining. You can say, I'm going to have a Halloween party every year, and then you have to be creative in your decorating. Or I'm going to have a dinner party on Saturday night, and then you have to be creative about what you're going to serve and what plates you're going to use and all of that. I mean, there's so many different kinds of creativity in life. And I think that's something people don't always recognize.
Yeah. Oh, I have the whole thing. I'm going to write about this in Project Open Door because everyday creativity and how we do not give ourselves credit for all of the different kinds of creativity that we use in everyday life. I think people think of it as being like very
limited to the arts.
Yes, very limited.
Yeah.
But that's a perfect example. If you're like, every year I'm going to have a Halloween party, it's like, well, this is my children's literature reading party where I have a holiday party every year. Everybody expects me to do it. So I'm like, well, I have to get my decorations up in time and I have to make a plan. It's a need that has to be met. By creating the need, then you force yourself to have the creativity to meet that need. So it's a way, if you're feeling like you're dry of ideas or you're not as productive as you want to be, give yourself something that you have to do, and then you will find that you might be doing it.
Yes.
So let us know if you do try this at home and how setting a demand helps you to generate creative ideas and get creative things done. It would be great to hear people's examples. Let us know on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Facebook. Drop us an email at podcast@GretchenRubin.com. Or as always, you can go to the show notes for everything related to this episode.
All right, Gretchen, coming up, we have a happiness hack related to cleaning. But first, this break. Gretchen, you know I love Quints. And as summer turns to fall, even here in LA, it's getting cooler. I love slipping into my Quints cozy sweaters. In fact, I'm wearing one right now. I'm wearing one of my cashmere tees. I absolutely love all of their cashmere. They're known for their Mongolian cashmere sweaters from just $50. And it's not just that. All Quint's items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands.
Well, and how do they do that? By partnering directly with top factories and cutting out the cost of the middleman, which passes the saving on to us, the consumer. Get cozy in Quince's high-quality wardrobe essentials. Go to quince.com/Gretchen for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/Gretchen to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Gretchen.
We all have bad days, and sometimes bad weeks, and maybe even bad years. But the good news is we don't have to figure out life all alone. I'm comedian Chris Duffy, host of Ted's How to Be a Better Human podcast. And our show is about the little ways that you can improve your life, actual practical tips that you can put into place that will make your day-to-day better. Whether it is setting boundaries at work or rethinking how you clean your house, each episode has conversations with experts who share tips on how to navigate life's ups and downs. Find How to Be a Better Human wherever you're listening to this.
Okay, Elizabeth, you know, ever since I wrote Outer Order Intercom, I've loved any new creative ideas for cleaning or clutter clearing or creating order. And I love this idea from our listener.
Yeah, Gretch, one of the monthly themes is work.
Yep.
So Patty says, this month I have chosen domestic work. Luckily, both my paid and volunteer work efforts are fantastic, and I truly thrive in both areas. Because I have limited time, domestic work takes the back seat. Sure, I tidy up every night and stay on top of laundry, but some of the rooms in my house need some serious attention, not only with organizing, but decorating as well. Would it take me long to tackle? Probably not, but it feels overwhelming anyway. I don't even know where to get started as I get distracted in each space. Often I just shut the door and pretend all is organized. Here's my hack on how I got going. On small scraps of paper, I wrote down each of the areas in my house that I need to work on. Each piece of paper has its own area: my office, guest room, art room, etc. I put all the papers in a small box and ask my husband to choose one. Whatever he draws is the area I have to work on until it's done.
Well, I love this idea. First of all, it gamifies it, which is so fun, especially rebels often really love to gamify. There's this element of, what will the fates decree? There's a playful element to it.
Yes, and then it also helps decision fatigue.
Sure.
Because you are not choosing what to do. Your husband is randomly picking a piece of paper.
Well, and it's also this idea of like, I've decided that whatever's on the piece of paper, I will do until it is done. So that's a lot of decision fatigue too, because it's like, I'm not going to allow myself to get distracted along the way. I'm going to stay focused. And by limiting it to one place, I think people can get into that mode where like, they're putting this book away on the shelf, and then they're at the bookshelf, and they're like, well, now I'll tidy the shelf of the book. And then this goes into the kitchen, and now I'm going to do this part of my cabinet. And by just saying like, okay, I got to do this one area until it's done, I think, again, for a lot of people, that would make it seem much more limited, much more manageable and satisfying, because you would say, okay, I see how I'm making progress through the house. I'm not working on everything all at once, which is, I find, at least when you're clutter clearing, is very tempting, because clutter clearing often, or cleaning generally, takes you all around your house. And the more you look for things to do, the more you will find. And so this limits that.
So that is a fun suggestion. Thank you, Patty.
Yes. Okay, now a know yourself better question. And this is intriguing to me, Elizabeth. Okay, so I want to know what everybody thinks about it. So as I've been thinking about the open door and all the changes that happen in this open door phase of life, also known as the empty nest stage of life, one thing that many people talk about is a change to their identity. Because maybe you were like a soccer parent, or you were head of the parent-teacher association, whatever it might be, but you feel like there's a change in your identity. So I was thinking to myself, well, what are ways that people could get more in touch with their own identity?
This feels like something you don't even know that you need to know until you need to know it.
I think that's exactly right. There is something about thinking about your identity that's different, I find. Anyway, so I was thinking, well, what could you do to sort of get back in touch? Or how could a person give themselves a stronger sense of themselves as an individual? And so this is the exercise that I came up with. We'll try it. I think that it is very valuable, but I'll be curious to hear what people think, which is about your quirkiness. Because I think a lot of times when people talk about identity, they talk about values and very transcendent things. But then like a lot of what makes you, you and makes me, me is the quirky aspect, just those quirky things.
Yes. And how are you defining quirk?
Okay, for the purposes of this exercise, I'm sounding like a lawyer. This is how I'm defining quirk. A quirk is not a biographical fact, even if that biographical fact might be considered unusual. So the fact that we're both from Kansas City, or I used to be a lawyer, or I have red hair, or you are a type 1 diabetic, those things are very important to you and to your identity and to me. But that's not what I'm calling quirky. Now, I will say that as I thought about my own quirks, sometimes it was hard to tell. I'm like, is this quirky or is this a biographical fact? Sometimes it's a little hard to tell. But the reason that I think it's useful to follow on quirkiness is this is something that is just coming from you, and as you're building up your new identity. This might help you solidify that identity and also give you clues to how you might build or foster that identity. So I guess it's your idiosyncrasy.
Yeah, and we're suggesting people list 24 of these things about themselves because it's 2024.
Yeah, like, let's just pick 24 is the number of the year.
Yes.
We love it 24.
Next year it'll be 25.
Yes.
You and I each picked 12 things so that we could get to 24.
Okay.
So let's go through ours. What are yours, Gretch?
Okay. So again, these are just my quirks. One is I drink lots of caffeine, both in the form of coffee, tea, and Diet Coke. I'm a low-carb eater. I love children's literature. I love aphorisms. I write them and read them and copy them. I do not like games or sports. I do not like anything related to unjust accusation. All my book groups know that I don't like to read a book that has unjust accusation. I'm a hair twister. I love perfume, and I have a big perfume collection. I rarely listen to music. I go to the Metropolitan Museum every day. I love, love, love the subject of color. And I am a new lake enthusiast. I am now kayaking, and I'm embracing my lake self. So those are my 12 quirks. Elizabeth, how about you?
Okay. Mine are, I love the Real Housewives.
Oh,
I think everyone knows that.
Yeah.
I sleep with a blankie.
Yes.
Every night, my childhood blankie. I am a member of Corgi Nation. I am a passionate Corgi lover.
Yes.
I am a convert to audiobooks.
Mm-hmm.
I am a new Orange Theory fitness enthusiast.
Mm-hmm.
I am an advocate for Manjaro, Gretchen. So yes, I take it, which maybe is a biographical fact, but I am an advocate for it. I love it. I love a hotel robe.
You've always loved robes, Elizabeth. I think robes are a key part of your identity to me.
I would live in a robe if I could. I'm clutter blind. We've mentioned that.
Yes, you are.
I am a visitor to Ojai. I frequent Ojai, where my writing partner lives.
Yeah.
I wear a lot of Kansas City-themed clothes.
Okay.
So that's different from being from Kansas City. I wear them around.
Yes.
Have all my T-shirts.
Okay, that was a good way to get around that. Back to quirk.
And then another thing about me, I am always searching for a solid mahjong group. Mm-hmm. So I talk about how I love mahjong, but I have yet to form a 4-person group that plays regularly, and it's one of my goals in life. And I love sound baths and massages, especially sound baths.
Oh, well, I will say to you, I love massages. I like sound baths, but I love massages. And then I would say the bonus one for both of us, because we could both put it on our list, is we really don't like driving. I would say that's the quirky thing about our personalities.
Yes.
So again, I think that this is helpful because one, it just gives you kind of a more solid sense of who you are as an individual. It allows you to see yourself from a third person perspective because you look at this list and you're like, this is a person who wants to have a more regular mahjong game. Just the way we coach ourselves as if we're giving advice to a friend or like treat yourself like a toddler. Those kinds of exercises, it can be helpful to think of ourselves in the third person. And then I also think that this exercise can be very clarifying because if you're thinking about, well, I've had a challenge to my sense of identity, you could look at your list and say, okay, well, how could I extend this part of my nature and make something more of an identity out of it? Elizabeth, looking at your list, I could think if a person wanted to build an identity more, looking at their quirks, you could say, well, maybe I would have a group where we would all get together once a month and watch Real Housewives, or we would have a group text about the Real Housewives. Or I could really work on having that mahjong group. It's something that I'm really going to double down on figuring that out.
Or for instance, I know someone who has a golden retriever who is in a golden retriever hiking group.
There you go.
There would be a corgi hiking group out there.
Right. Or maybe you learn how to give sound baths. You get your own set of things and you give sound baths to your friends. And also, I think another way is we talk about the strategy of treats, which is one of the most fun of the 21 strategies of habit change is the strategy of treats and like the value of everyday luxuries and helping us feel energized and cared for. Looking at your list, your quirks might help you think, what are some possibilities for treats or everyday luxuries that I might have overlooked? So for instance, Elizabeth, you might be like, you know what? Whenever I'm at home, I'm going to wear a robe. Maybe you don't want to do that. Or like, maybe I'm going to ask for a robe for my birthday because I would love this beautiful new robe that I spotted. Anyway, I think sometimes by putting it out there in a list and then looking at it, that little bit of perspective can help us really understand ourselves better, and then also might think of next steps to take with that information, which just feels like it's running in the background of our lives.
Yes. And of course, people should feel free to send us their lists.
Oh,
because you know we love lists.
Oh my God. And it's
love
kind of portrait.
It's
another kind of, it's the five senses portrait.
Yes.
It's all these different ways to make portraits. It's like, what are your quirks? And what am I overlooking? Like I literally just had this idea, and so I'm just pursuing it now.
Exploring.
Yes.
All right, coming up, Gretchen has a demerit that I think many of us will relate to. But first, this break.
This message is sponsored by Greenlight. Greenlight is a debit card and money app made for families. Parents can send money to their kids and keep an eye on kids' spending and saving, while kids and teens build money confidence and lifelong financial literacy skills. The Greenlight app also includes a chores feature where you can set up one-time or recurring chores customized to your family's needs and reward kids with allowance for a job well done.
Yes, Gretch, I love Greenlight. I got Greenlight for Jack, and it has been a game changer for us. And I love that we can actually say what chores we want him to do, and then in doing them, he earns his allowance. Millions of parents and kids are learning about money on Greenlight. It's the easy, convenient way for parents to raise financially smart kids and families to navigate life together. Sign up for Greenlight today and get your first month free when you go to greenlight.com/happier. That's greenlight.com/happier to try Greenlight for free. Greenlight.com/happier.
Elizabeth, I can't decide which is my favorite, but I love Boca toothpaste. It has a really great flavor. I like Element, which is really ELAMINT, Ella Mint, but they also have a really interesting cocoa ginger, so I switch back and forth between those. And it has a magic ingredient of nanohydroxyapatite, which is a form of calcium that makes up 97% of our tooth enamel and 70% of our dentin. And because it comprises the primary foundation of teeth and bones, it's restorative for teeth and enamel.
Yeah, and there are kids' flavors that are extra delicious and offer the same efficacy and are safe to swallow, like orange cream, watermelon mint, and new strawberry mango. For a limited time, Boca is offering 15% off its best-selling toothpaste on Amazon and Boca.com with code HAPPIER15. That's HAPPIER15. Make the switch to non-toxic Boca for the whole family. Are you unhappy with your hair and skincare products? Have you experienced dry skin and hair, oil buildup, and needing to use more and more products to achieve the results you want from your hair and skin? It's not your products, it's your water. Culligan water softeners stop hard water at the source, providing softer, cleaner water throughout every faucet in your home. With benefits like softer hair and skin, a longer-lasting clean, and less product waste, Culligan has been making water better for people since 1936. And it's not just your hair and skin. Hard water can cause things like water stains in the bathroom and kitchen.
I had this experience when I was showering at my in-laws' apartment. I thought that there was something wrong with my shampoo, and then I realized that the problem with my hair was actually from the water. Culligan has local water experts in your city and offers a free in-home water test to see if you have hard water and address your water concerns. Go to Culligan.com to schedule a free in-home water test.
Okay, Gretch, it is time for demerits and gold stars. You are up this week with a happiness demerit.
Okay, this is a classic, and it's related to creativity and work in general, and I didn't save enough. And I think what happened was that I was switching between my laptop and my desktop, or maybe I was just closing a document, and somehow instead of hitting save, I hit don't save. I suspect that's what happened in some way. because I opened up my document and I realized, and I'm still not quite sure what I lost in my project, Empty Nest project. I'm like working in a lot of sections all at once. So I spotted a big section that was missing, but I think there's probably little things scattered all throughout the document.
Oh.
And I'm just save, always save. Every time you think of it, every time you don't think of it, it just constantly save.
Yes. Oh, Gretchen, my heart breaks for you. We've all at some point done this, and it is the worst feeling. It makes me sick.
Well, if you're a fan of Mad Men the way we are, Elizabeth, remember that scene from the episode The Telegram, where one of the writers didn't write something down. So he lost an idea because he forgot to write it down. And it's about how that became the spark of an idea for an amazing ad campaign that Peggy and Don came up with. But they were all commiserating about the pain of losing an idea because it's not written down in a way that is secure.
Yes. Now, I will say, Gretchen, if you write on an iPad, it just automatically is saved. There is no saving.
Oh, well, see, there you go.
But what you can also do is accidentally work on the wrong document.
Well,
which
we've all
Sarah and I have done that many times.
Well, you know what my thing for that is sometimes if I think there's two documents that I might confuse, I'll make one all yellow so that I have a big visual reminder like, wait, so we've all done it.
Yep.
And by giving yourself a demerit, you're like, remember, whatever system you're using, make sure that you're thinking, is there any way that I might not save everything that I am doing to save my work? But Elizabeth, what is your gold star? Take us up.
Well, Gretchen, I want to give a gold star to all the people out there who are registering to vote after our reminders.
Yes.
We've been reminding people, talking about easy ways to do it.
Yes.
Going to headcount.org, all those things. And we've been hearing from people that they are registering. So, gold star.
Yes, it's really important. It's really worth the time. And it's great to hear that people are doing it. The resource for this week. So I am so excited. I created this I Want You to Know journal. The subtitle is A Portrait of You. And I love this thing. It gives you questions that you can fill in and you can pick whatever vibe you want. You're talking about your relationship with someone like, so Elizabeth, I might do it for you. And all my answers would be about memories that we shared or what I associate with you or think with you. You could do it like in a teasing way. You could do it in a sweet way. You can pick whatever vibe you want. It's very open-ended. It's like the Five Senses portrait where you don't have to actually write that much to really create something that feels really meaningful. And anyway, I think it's really cool. And I'm so excited to use it myself for people in my life.
Yes.
Spoiler alert, Elizabeth, one may be coming your way. Anyway, I'm really excited. It'll ship by late October. So people want to pre-order or check it out. You just go to happiercast.com/I want you to know. Oh, but you know what, Alyssa, is interesting. I was talking to somebody about it, and she was saying how she wanted to do it about her father who had just died.
Yeah.
Because she wanted to write down her...
Capture
it's just like
the memories.
It's like the Five Senses portrait.
Yeah.
When I thought of it, I never thought of using it, which makes sense, which is anything that's related to holding on to memories. It makes sense that you would want to do it. So I thought about more like as a way to communicate feelings, memories. If you find it hard to like put feelings into words, this would help you. I never thought about it using it that way, but that was the first thing she thought of. So you never know what people will do with the tool.
Yes.
So Elizabeth, what are we reading? What are you reading?
Gretch, I'm in between books. I'm very behind on my reading. I've been working a lot and I have not been reading, so I'll pass this week.
Okay.
What about you?
I am reading Beginners by Tom Vanderbilt. And that's it for this episode of Happier. Remember to try this at home. To spark creativity, set a demand. Let us know if you tried it and if it worked for you.
Thank you to our executive producer, Chuck Reed, and everyone at Odyssey. Get in touch. Gretchen's on Instagram, Threads, Facebook, and TikTok at Gretchen Rubin, and I'm on Instagram and Threads at Liz Craft. Our email address is podcast@GretchenRubin.com.
So please rate us. We love those 5-star ratings. Review us. People really read the reviews. And recommend us to somebody else. That is how most people enjoy the show. And here is your rhyming reminder. If the show brightens your day, send others this way.
Until next week, I'm Elizabeth Craft.
And I'm Gretchen Rubin. Thanks for joining us. Onward and upward. Elizabeth, I love that it's Corgi Nation.
I know.
They don't have Cockapoo Nation, but just the words Corgi Nation. Just
I
like,
know.
that is an identity, for sure.
Yes, I'm also a member of Bachelor Nation. I could have mentioned that too.
I feel like that's kind of Real Housewives
Yes.
in that zone. From the Onward Project.